Welcome to Living Life at the End for the Successful and Fulfilled Woman. I am your host, Dr. Stephanie D. Barnes, the Liberated Lawyer. I help women to get everything they desire in life by equipping them with powerful strategies to achieve the fulfillment they desire and deserve. Who said you can't have it all? Clearly, they did not know about living life in the end. When women make powerful decisions and create great strategies, they can have everything they desire in life. Girlfriend, forget about choosing between being successful or fulfilled. You can be successful and fulfilled. It's time for you to get everything you desire and deserve. It's time for you to live your life on purpose. It's time for you to live a life that is fulfilled, meaningful, and full of joy. It's time for you to walk boldly in the power of your decisions. If you are going to be in this world, you need to be fulfilled in this life. Life is too long to be unfulfilled. Join me for another episode of Living Life in the End, where you learn how to live fulfilled, fit, and free. This episode was brought to you by the Successful and Fulfilled Woman New You Transformation, a VIP day for the high-achieving woman who is ready to be successful and fulfilled. If you are a woman who feels burned out and uninspired, or you are a woman ready to start over after a divorce, death, or other disruption, or you are a mother whose children are ready to leave the nest or are already gone, and you are now ready to create a meaningful life for yourself, or you are a woman who's approaching your golden years and you want the next half to be the best half, or you are a woman who's ready to get more out of life and ready to stop marking time and start living life, then we need to have a revelation conversation. Go to www.everythingideserve.com to schedule your complimentary revelation conversation, where together we will talk about where you are now and where you want to be, and begin to develop a plan to get you where you desire to be. You will leave your revelation conversation understanding the first thing that you can start doing today to begin living a successful and fulfilled life. Hey, it's time. It's time for Musing from the Mind of Dr. SDB, where I share provocative thoughts to help you live your life in the end. Girl, I've got something on my mind. I've been thinking about what it really means to be free. What is freedom? If you've been listening to me for any amount of time, you know that I am dedicated to helping high achieving women experience a life that is fulfilled, fit, and free. And freedom, of course, can take on several different meanings. And I thought I'd share some time to focus on what does it really mean to be free? And many times when we think about freedom, we think about literally being able to move, our physical freedom. We think about not being in jail. We think about the ability to be able to move about freely without restraints or inhibitions. And freedom really is a multidimensional experience. It's a multidimensional commitment, and it's a multidimensional gift. Well, it's really not a gift. Gift was not the word I was looking for. It was a word that came to me. But really privilege. privilege and something that we deserve, something that we've earned, something that is and should be inherent. And I say it should be inherent because many of us are free. We're physically free. We're not in jail. We are free to move about, but we have not stepped fully into our freedom. We don't know we're free. And we are allowing external forces, if you will, to restrain us, even though we're free to move about. So I wanted to challenge us to think about freedom and how we can experience it. And the first, and I think most important place to experience freedom is in our thoughts. Our thoughts, our beliefs, and our mind. Because there are so many instances where we are literally free to leave. We're free to leave a job. We're free to leave a relationship. We're free to leave a situation or a situationship. We're free to physically move, but in our minds, we have not accepted that we're free, or in our minds, we believe that we're stuck or that we can't move, or our minds are so shackled with guilt or with fear or with love, even that even though we are physically able to move, we don't move because we don't exercise our freedom. It is so important for us, if we desire to be fulfilled, if we desire to have the life we desire and deserve, to embrace freedom in our thoughts and know that we're free and exercise the freedom to voice our needs, to voice our opinions, to voice what is hurting us, to voice how we need change to happen from those in our lives or just in our environment. And it's important for us to know that regardless of what situation we're in, we're always free because we always have the power of choice. In so many instances, we are fooled into thinking that we can't. You don't have a choice. You don't have enough. You are not enough. You need this person. You need this job. You need this situation. You need this community. We allow these external influences to restrict the power of choice. And regardless of how much debt you're in, how toxic your relationship is, how draining your job is, or how meaningless your life may seem, or how it may seem that your life is going nowhere, you always have the power of choice, and so you are always free to change. Now, with that being said, it is not easy. There are many discussions on the internets right now that are talking about, well, why didn't she leave? Why didn't she say no? Why didn't whatever? All of these judgmental positions about why someone didn't exercise the power of their choice. And many times, because we believe in a person, we believe in a situation, we believe in a job, we believe in what we're doing, we will become oblivious to the pain that it is causing, the harm it is causing. We will become oblivious to how it is destroying us. And we become shackled to the belief that things are going to be better. He really doesn't mean it. I'm not good enough. I'm not going to find love other places. Not going to be able to find another job. I can't succeed in a business of my own. I have to work for someone else. All of these limiting beliefs that restrict our freedom. If we truly desire to be free physically, financially, purposefully, we must first free our minds from limiting beliefs that lock us into situations that are detrimental to our health, that are detrimental to our purpose, that are detrimental to our joy. And it is not something that happens easily. It may require assistance from others. It may require therapy. It definitely requires prayer and meditation. But ultimately, it simply requires a choice, the exercise of choice to say, you know what? This no longer serves me. It never did. It's destroying me. I deserve better. So I'm going to exercise the freedom of choice that I have to make a change. Freedom begins in your thoughts. The next thing that we want to think about when we think about freedom, or the next area or dimension of freedom that we want to embrace, is freedom in our lives, our life. We want to live freely. And living freely doesn't mean you do whatever you want to do to the detriment of others or to the disregard of the impact you have on yourself and others around you, but you have the freedom to exercise your choices to create the life you desire and deserve. And that is what I truly want for all women. I desire to live in a world where women are able to live the lives that bring them joy without judgment or without restriction or without feeling guilty about seeking fulfillment in the first place. We deserve to have freedom in our lives. And what I mean by freedom in your life, it is, you truly are able to do the things that bring you joy. You're truly able to do the things that fulfill your purpose. You're able to make changes to improve your life, to evolve, and to become the highest and best version of yourself. You are free to live a life that matters to you without asking for permission from others, without succumbing to the judgment of others about what you should be doing, what's inappropriate for you, what a woman ought to do, where a woman's place is. It is the ability to make those choices for yourself and to create a life that fulfills you. That's a freedom that we all deserve. The freedom to live our lives in a way that brings us joy, that makes impact on the world in a positive way, that allows us to enjoy the beauty of this world. And, you can think about living your life freely from so many different perspectives. We can think about it from the perspective of, Black people in America. We have had our, quote, freedom since the emancipation of slaves back in, I guess, 1864, 1865, I forget. Anyway, back then, we've been free, and yet we've not been allowed to truly live our lives because we have always had to deal with the racist and systemic laws and cultural norms that try to restrict us from living our lives fully, and to say you can only live in this part of town, you can't do this. We're not going to give you an opportunity. We're beginning to see that. We're not beginning to see that. We are experiencing this again in America, where there is a systematic attempt to deprive Black people of the freedom to simply live in America. You know, there is a systematic attempt to deprive Black people of the ability to get a job that is fulfilling and will pay a decent wage, because there is this anti DEI push that is very thinly veiled white supremacy. And while I don't want to delve into politics, we cannot ignore the impact that politics have on our lives. And this is an especially important time for women and Black women and Black people to fight for the freedom to live our lives in a way that is fulfilled and free. And, to be able to live our lives without having these external restrictions on our choices. We should have the ability to have access to the jobs and the places and the opportunities and the financing and all of the aspects in life that help us to achieve a life that is meaningful and fulfilled. So, when we think about freedom to live our lives without restriction, it is a micro experience in that it is the freedom to live the life we desire in our own ecosystem, in our own environment, and in our lives personally. And then at a macro level, it is the ability to live free in this country and abroad, because we cannot ignore the fact that although I believe America does racism the best, it exists in other places as well. But freedom is something that we should experience in our lives, and we should have the freedom to live our lives in a way that is meaningful and fulfilled. The next dimension of freedom is our spirits. And when I say to have freedom in your spirit, it is peace. It is the ability to connect to a higher being and to know that our lives are meaningful beyond our mere existence and that we are connected to each other. And you've heard me talk about this before. I truly believe in the power of energy that we emit. Everyone emits an energy, and it is either positive or negative. And, you can call it a vibe, you can call it a vibration, you can call it whatever, but there is a true energy that we emit based on our beliefs and based on our thoughts and our intentions. And it is important to have the freedom to protect that energy, protect our peace, protect our faith and our ability to express our faith in however we desire. I make no secrets about my Christian beliefs. And even though I fervently believe in the tenets of Christianity. I also believe that others ought to be free to choose on their own. And my desire is that because I live my life as I do, and because they may see me experience Christianity in the way that I do, that it is something that they would want to embrace, but it is their choice. And this is something that, we have to embrace, in that we can't force and should not force our beliefs on others to the point where we restrict their spirits and their spiritual relationship and their spiritual growth. Because even as a Christian, we should know that God gave us free will. Jesus never forced himself on anyone. He taught, he connected, and he converted people through love, through loving them, through giving them grace, through teaching and illuminating. And it is important for us as spiritual beings to really emit an energy that attracts people to us in a way where they desire to experience what we have to offer. And so it's important for us to be able to freely express our spiritual existence and to respect the freedom of others to do the same. And our best version of evangelism, for whatever faith it is that we believe, is living with authenticity and living in a way that the energy we emit is one that people want to experience and they want to be around and they want to embrace it. And it's something that they desire to experience for themselves. So when we're free to express our spiritual existence and our spiritual experience, we give other people the freedom to do the same. And the last dimension of freedom that I believe is so important to live a life that is successful and fulfilled, and you've heard me talk about it, I've woven it into, because it is woven into every other dimension of freedom, and that is our freedom of choice. It is the most powerful freedom that we have, and it is the most liberating aspect of our being, because when we embrace freeing thoughts, it exemplifies, or it amplifies, that's the word I wanted to use. It amplifies our freedom of choice, because we are exercising choices that are unlimited and choices that are not restricted by limiting beliefs. And the freedom of choice is the greatest freedom that we can experience, because it is the gateway to experiencing all of the other dimensions of freedom. When you have the power to choose, you have the power to change. When you have the power to choose, you have the power to change. So if you are in a situation that is not serving you well, when you have the freedom of choice, when you do have the freedom of choice, then you have the ability to change. You have the ability to literally move. You have the ability to change your mind. You have the ability to change the situation. So freedom is a multidimensional experience that we are all deserving of. Freedom should not be reserved for one group of people, whether that is defined by race, by gender, by income, or any other cultural or societal descriptor that we use to define human beings. And it is important for us to experience freedom in all of its dimensions so that we can truly create a life that is multidimensional. Because it is incredibly liberating to know that I have the power of choice. I have the power to change. It is incredibly liberating to know that because I am equipped with the freedom of choice, I am equipped with freedom, period. Well, that's all I have to say about that. Thank you for joining me for another musing from the mind of Dr. SDB, where I share provocative thoughts that help you to live your life in the end. I hope you learned something. I hope you felt something. But girl, most of all, I hope you do something. Fulfillment won't happen because you desire it. Fulfillment will happen because you decide to go get it. Let's get it. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Living Life in the End for the Successful and Fulfilled Woman. Please be sure to let me know what made you feel something, what you learned, and what moved you to action. Please subscribe so you don't miss out on a great conversation. And don't forget to rate and review the podcast and let me know how you are living life in the end. Life is too long to be unfulfilled. Don't keep all this goodness to yourself. Tell someone else to listen for themselves. We should all be fulfilled. Remember, your life is the product of your choices. Choose to commit to bringing the desires of your heart to completion. You don't get what you deserve until you get what you decide. Life is too long to be unfulfilled.